Spicy lady, breathe in slowly and exhale. This is your sacred space. No noise from the world, only the sound of your own power rising. You are not here to be light. You are here to become undeniable. Let every word you hear penetrate your subconscious. Speak them out loud. Claim them. Embody them. Your SpicyLady-Sigma.
Welcome to Spicy Lady. Silence is not weakness. It is strategy. There comes a point in every Sigma Spicy Lady's life where she realizes not every battle deserves her voice. Some people don't want truth. They want reaction. They feed on chaos, confusion, and emotional control. That's when her silence becomes her sharpest weapon. Ignoring someone is not about arrogance or pride. It is about understanding energy, what to protect, where to invest, and when to walk away. When a Sigma Spicy Lady stops responding, she doesn't disappear out of fear. She steps back because her peace costs too much to bargain with. She knows confrontation gives people attention they do not deserve. So, if you've ever been misunderstood for choosing peace over argument, this video will speak directly to you. Watch it to the end and you'll understand why ignoring people isn't weakness, it's evolution. And once you master this kind of silence, no one will ever have power over your emotions again. Let's dive into it. The Spicy Lady. Number 1. Ignoring breaks the psychological contract. Every human interaction runs on an invisible agreement. It's not written or spoken, but it's there, a psychological contract. You react the way people expect, and they behave accordingly. It's a quiet rhythm between two minds, but when a Sigma Spicy Lady decides to stop responding, she breaks that rhythm completely. She steps out of the emotional choreography that others rely on to keep control. A manipulator always depends on predictability. They study reactions like a map. What makes you angry? What makes you feel guilty? What draws you back? They count on your empathy, your curiosity, your need to explain yourself. It's not always evil. Sometimes it's just how people survive in emotional power games, but a Sigma Spicy Lady doesn't play those games. She sees through them. The moment she realizes someone is pulling strings, she cuts them without warning. That is the quiet genius of a Sigma Spicy Lady. She doesn't shout. She doesn't prove. She doesn't argue. She simply removes her energy from the equation. And that removal dismantles everything the manipulator built. It's not revenge. It's clarity. When she stops playing her part, she doesn't just end the game. She makes the other person realize they were never the one in control. Number 2, ignoring is how she keeps her dignity intact. There's a special kind of strength in walking away without explaining yourself. For the Sigma Spicy Lady, ignoring isn't about being cold or proud. It's about protecting her dignity. She knows her value doesn't need defending, and she won't waste energy convincing anyone to see what they refuse to notice in the first place. Her silence becomes her statement, and it speaks louder than any argument ever could. People who try to question her worth often expect a reaction. They want her to prove herself, to justify her actions, to fight for recognition. But she doesn't play that game. She understands that when you start explaining yourself to those who have already made up their mind, you hand them power over your peace. She would rather be misunderstood and at peace than understood and drained. That's her version of victory. When she ignores, she's not dismissing others. She's choosing herself. Every time she stays silent, she tells the world, my worth isn't up for debate. That quiet certainty unsettles people who rely on drama to feel significant. They expect her to fight back. But instead she walks away with calm eyes and steady energy. It's that calm that haunts them, because it shows she doesn't need approval to feel complete. Her silence carries dignity because it's rooted in self-respect. It's not about who was right or wrong. It's about who stayed grounded when tested. She knows that explaining her worth to the wrong audience only cheapens it. So she lets her absence deliver the message instead. In a world where people argue to be heard, she stands out by refusing to beg for understanding. Her silence is an emptiness. It's strength, restraint, and deep awareness of who she is. When she chooses to ignore, she's not giving up. She's rising above, and that quiet grace is what people remember long after the noise fades. Number 3. It shifts the memory of her into something untouchable. There's something unforgettable about a woman who leaves without noise. The Sigma Spicy Lady doesn't exit with drama or long explanations. She leaves quietly, and that quietness burns itself into memory. People may not remember every word she said, but they remember the silence that followed her absence, the emptiness where her energy used to be. It's not the goodbye that haunts them. It's the stillness that comes after. When she walks away, she doesn't just disappear from sight. She disappears from their emotional reach. That distance transforms how people remember her. She stops being just a person. They start seeing her as a symbol of everything rare and real they fail to appreciate. The memory of her becomes something they can't touch, can't replace, and can't forget. It lives in the quiet moments when they least expect it. Her silence rewrites the story. The arguments fade, the justifications blur, but her absence stays sharp. People begin to realize that her presence had a calming weight to it. Something grounding that they only notice once it's gone. It's like losing gravity. You only feel the loss when you start to float in confusion. That's the kind of impression a Sigma Spicy Lady leaves behind. She doesn't demand to be remembered, yet she always is. Her energy lingers in conversations, in thoughts, even in dreams. It's not nostalgia. It's recognition. People sense that they encountered someone real, someone who didn't need to prove her worth through noise. By becoming untouchable, she becomes timeless. They can't reach her, can't explain her, can't move past her fully. Her silence becomes a ghost of truth that follows them, reminding them of what authenticity feels like. She doesn't haunt through words or actions, but through the peace she carried within herself. And that kind of presence is impossible to forget. Number 4. She doesn't ignore to punish. There's a deep beauty in how a Sigma Spicy Lady handles distance. When she ignores, it's never out of spite. It's not a silent punishment or a secret game. It's a decision, a calm, deliberate act of self-preservation. She's not trying to make anyone feel small. She's trying to keep herself whole. Her silence is her boundary, her way of saying, I choose peace over noise. People often mistake that calm detachment for arrogance, but it's nothing of the sort. She's simply tired of confusion, manipulation, and emotional clutter. She's done explaining herself to people who listen only to argue. When she turns her attention inward, she isn't retreating. She's reclaiming her space. She's cleaning out her mind from the chaos others brought in. Her peace is her home, and not everyone deserves to enter it. Ignoring someone isn't about shutting them out forever. It's about refusing to entertain energy that drains her spirit. It's about understanding that not every apology heals, not every explanation helps, and not every connection deserves to continue. That kind of wisdom doesn't come easy. It's earned through heartbreak, lessons, and a quiet understanding of her own worth. What haunts people most is not that she walked away, but that she never looked back. They expect anger, bitterness, or regret, but she gives them silence. That silence shows she has found something they never could. Peace without their presence. It's a peace that doesn't beg, doesn't chase, and doesn't seek validation. It's a peace that stands on its OWN.I in the end. That's her greatest power. Not revenge, not pride. Just serenity. She doesn't ignore to wound anyone. She ignores to keep her mind still and her heart clear. And that's what unsettles others most. Realizing they lost access to her calm world and she never needed them to find it. Number 5. Confrontation feeds the fire. Confrontation feels satisfying in the moment. It gives you that burst of energy, that illusion of control, that rush of I said my part. But for the Sigma Spicy Lady, that rush isn't worth the cost. She knows that every argument keeps the story alive. Every response gives oxygen to the fire, and she refuses to be the reason the flames keep burning. When someone tries to provoke her, they expect a reaction. They crave it. The argument isn't about truth. It's about control. They want her to explain, defend, or justify herself because that means she's still playing their game. But she's smarter than that. She understands that silence isn't weakness. It's strategy. When she stops responding, she cuts off the supply line that fuels their need for attention. The drama dies instantly because there's nothing left to feed on. Ignoring ends things in a way confrontation never can. Words can be twisted. Silence cannot. When she goes quiet, the other person is forced to face the emptiness they created. They can't rewrite her silence. They can't argue with it. They can only sit with it, and that's what makes it sting. Being erased mid-drama is a wound to the ego.it leaves people suspended mid-performance with no audience to impress. They're left talking to their own echo, realizing too late that she's no longer part of the show. Her silence becomes a closed door they can't reopen. That's the power of restraint. The Sigma Spicy Lady doesn't end fights with words. She ends them with absence. Her lack of response speaks louder than any comeback ever could. And the haunting part, those who tried to provoke her will keep replaying that silence in their mind, searching for meaning, but there isn't one that she's just done. Completely, quietly, and forever. Number 6. People crave reactions more than apologies. Most people don't actually want to make peace. They want to feel powerful. They crave a reaction more than an apology. They want to know they still matter enough to make you flinch, to make you angry, to make you speak. That reaction is their proof of control. But when a Sigma Spicy Lady refuses to react, she cuts off their supply of validation. She leaves them standing in the spotlight alone with nothing to feed on but their own emptiness. Her silence unsettles them because it removes the emotional grip they once had. They throw insults, create chaos, and try every trick to pull her back into the game. But she stays calm. NOI roll. No sharp words, no emotional display. Just steady calmness that says, you no longer have access to my energy. That's the kind of composure that breaks people far more than confrontation ever could. When she doesn't react, the other person starts spiraling. They go from confident to confused, from mocking to desperate. They start to realize something painful. She's not ignoring them to prove a point. She's genuinely indifferent now, and there's nothing more terrifying than losing emotional control over someone who used to care. That quiet indifference is her superpower. It's how she protects her mind from emotional thieves. She understands that not reacting doesn't mean she's weak. It means she's free, because every reaction would have been a form of surrender, and she doesn't surrender her peace to anyone. In the end, her silence becomes their mirror. They see their own need for control, their own immaturity, their own dependence on drama. And while they wrestle with that realization, she's already moved on. Lighter, calmer, and untouchable. That's the kind of defeat that doesn't fade. It lingers. Number 7. Her silence turns into a spotlight. Her silence has a strange power. It doesn't fade. It amplifies. When a Sigma Spicy Lady stops speaking, the quiet doesn't bring peace to those who wronged her. It exposes them. Her lack of reaction doesn't erase the moment. It stretches it, freezes it in time, and forces the other person to face the echo of their own behavior, that it's not revenge. It's reflection, and reflection, when paired with guilt, is a punishment no words could deliver. See, when someone argues back, it gives the other person something to grab onto, something to deflect, to justify, to fight against. But when she goes quiet, there's nothing left to battle, just the heavy sound of their own words playing back in their head. The silence becomes a mirror, and in that mirror, they see the truth they tried to hide. Her calm detachment turns into a spotlight that shines directly on their actions. Every lie, every manipulation, every careless word now stands on its own, unprotected by excuses. The longer she stays silent, the more uncomfortable it gets for them. What they thought was power suddenly feels like exposure. They begin to wonder what she's thinking, what she knows, what she saw. The uncertainty becomes unbearable. Her silence forces accountability without ever demanding it. It makes people face what they've done without being told. And that's what makes it so haunting. She doesn't need to point fingers or deliver speeches. Their conscience does the work for her. The truth is, her silence speaks in frequencies only guilt can hear. It doesn't shout. It hums quietly in their mind long after she's gone. That's why people remember her silence more than any argument. They can't escape what it reveals about them. Number 8. People feel haunted by what they can't explain. There's a unique kind of power in leaving quietly, without closure, without a final speech. The Sigma Spicy Lady understands this. She knows that sometimes walking away without a scene speaks louder than any confrontation ever could. People expect arguments, explanations, or even tears, but when none come, it leaves them disturbed that they're left staring into the silence, wondering what just happened. That's what haunts them, the not knowing. When she makes a clean exit, she doesn't announce it or warn anyone. She simply stops showing up, stops replying, stops giving her energy to people who no longer deserve it. Her disappearance feels too calm, too composed. And that calmness unsettles those who expected chaos. They replay everything in their head, searching for clues, trying to pinpoint the exact moment she decided she was done. But the truth is, she made that choice long before they noticed. The human mind hates unfinished stories. It needs endings to make sense of things. But when a Sigma spicy lady walks away quietly, she denies them that comfort. There's no closure, no final words, no emotional explanation, just silence. That silence becomes a loop that plays in their thoughts over and over again. Why did she leave? What did I do? Does she still care? They'll never get an answer. And that mystery becomes their punishment. She doesn't do it to be cruel. She does it to protect her peace. She knows that explaining her reasons would only give others another opportunity to twist her truth, as though she lets the silence do the work. And it always does. Her quiet exit turns into a riddle that never stops echoing. Long after she's gone, they still feel her presence in the one place they can't escape, their own mind. Number 9. Ignoring exposes who really cared. Ignoring has a way of separating the real from the fake. When a Sigma spicy lady goes quiet, she doesn't do it to test people. It just happens naturally when her energy shifts inward. But what follows is revealing. The ones who only valued her for the attention she gave start to disappear almost instantly. They get bored, confused, or even angry because they've lost the audience that made them feel important. Their disappearance confirms what she already sensed. They never cared about her. They cared about how she made them feel. But the ones who truly valued her feel the silence differently. They don't just miss her messages or her presence. They feel an emptiness where her energy used to be. Her absence isn't just noticed, it's felt. They think about the way her presence brought calm, depth, and meaning to conversations. They remember how she made them feel seen without judgment. That realization stings because they know they lost someone who didn't just listen to respond, but to understand. Ignoring strips away illusions. It reveals who was attached to her attention and who was connected to her soul. Those who vanish were never really there to begin with. Those who remain unsettled realize how rare her energy was, that it's the quiet ones who are hardest to forget. And the Sigma spicy lady's silence has that exact weight. To be why doing nothing, she finds clarity. She learns who was genuine without chasing or questioning. Her silence works as a filter that no confrontation could ever match. It shows her who was standing beside her out of love, and who was only there for the spotlight of her attention. In the end, ignoring doesn't just protect her peace. It reveals the truth with absolute precision. Number 10. Her quiet becomes a psychological punishment. Her quiet doesn't scream, but it shakes people to their core. The Sigma spicy lady doesn't go silent to hurt anyone. It just happens when she reaches that point where words no longer serve a purpose. What follows isn't revenge. It's revelation. Her indifference dismantles every illusion people had about their importance in her life. They thought she'd always respond, always care, always explain. But when she goes quiet, they realize they were never the center of her world. They were just passing through it. That there's something deeply unsettling about being ignored by someone who once cared. It forces people to confront the truth about their place in her life. They start to see that her attention was never guaranteed. It was given, and now it's gone. That absence feels like a punishment. But it's not that. It's simply her peace taking up the space where their noise used to be. Indifference cuts deeper than anger because it has no emotional entry point. You can fight with someone who's angry. You can reason with someone who's upset, but you can't move someone who's indifferent. Her calm detachment becomes a mirror. And in that mirror, people see how small their influence really was. They begin to realize she was never trapped in their emotional web. They were trapped in hers. Her silence says, "You no longer have power here." It exposes who depended on her reactions to feel relevant. The more they try to provoke her, the colder her absence feels. It's a psychological undoing that no apology can fix. She doesn't raise her voice or seek revenge. she simply walks away, leaving behind a silence that reveals everything they refused to see when she was present. That's not punishment. It's truth delivered without words. Sometimes peace speaks louder than any response ever could. The power of the Sigma Spicy Lady lies not in how loudly she speaks, but in how quietly she decides. She doesn't chase closure, she creates it. She doesn't argue for respect. She commands it through calm indifference. Her silence is not a wall. It's a boundary built from self-awareness, and that boundary is what keeps her peace untouched in a world that constantly tries to take it. Ignoring is not weakness. It's mastery, that it's knowing that not every situation deserves your voice, and not every person deserves access to your energy. When a Sigma Spicy Lady chooses silence, she's not running from conflict. She's stepping into control. She understands that sometimes the most powerful move is to say nothing and let the silence expose everything. That's why her quiet haunts people. It leaves them to face their own reflection without her to distract them. They remember her not for the words she said, but for the stillness that followed, because that stillness held truth, dignity, and strength. If you've ever been called cold for choosing peace over reaction, remember this. You are not being distant. You are being deliberate, that you're protecting something sacred inside you that not everyone deserves to touch. And that restraint, that control, is what separates Sigma Spicy Ladies from the rest. Stay until the end of this video, because once you understand how silence turns into power, you'll never waste energy on noise again, that you'll learn how to stop chasing explanations and start mastering presence. Because true power doesn't shout. It simply exists, calm and untouchable. Thank you for watching The Spicy Lady, and God bless.